Thank you, Speaker. My question is to the Minister for the Environment and Energy. I refer the Minister to the situation for Puller cold storage in Cobram, in my electorate of Murray, that is experiencing significant increases in energy charges. Will the Minister update the House on why a practical approach to delivering energy reliability and affordability is necessary, and is the Minister aware of any obstacles?
The Minister for the Environment and Energy.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. And I thank the member for Murray for his question and acknowledge his deep concern about the rising electricity prices for those in his electorate, including Puller's Cold Storage in Cobram, which is a family-owned business that can date back nearly 7 decades, employs 15 people, and recently went out to tender for its electricity contracts. And the offers that came back were 135% higher than over the previous 3 years, some $350,000 higher than over the previous 3 years, Mr Speaker. Now, why is this happening in Victoria? One of the reasons is because the Andrews Labor government was determined to see the closure of Hazelwood, Mr Speaker. One of its ministers said that its continued operation was disgraceful, Mr Speaker, and they tripled the coal royalties on those in the Latrobe Valley. And we also know about the moratoriums and the bans on conventional and unconventional gas extraction, which Geosciences Australia tell us has more than 4 decades' worth of reserves in Victoria. That's why we on this side of the House are determined to rein in network costs, determined to get more gas into the market. That's why the Prime Minister's meeting with the LNG providers was so important, to reform the infrastructure and the pipelines for gas and to get those costs down and to invest in pumped hydro storage, Mr Speaker. But we know that not all of those opposite are happy with the Leader of the Opposition's energy policy, because on the front page of The Australian just last week, the member for Hunter was quoted as telling caucus of their overreach and getting ahead of the public when it came to energy policy, Mr Speaker. Now, the member for Hunter, he might be what we would consider Labor's oracle. But for the Leader of the Opposition, what he says is heresy, Mr Speaker, is heresy. He says is heresy, but he's not the only one who is ringing the alarm bells when it comes to Labor's policy. Because Ben Davis, the Victorian Secretary of the AWU, has warned about the rush away from gas and coal, in his words, potentially crucifying hundreds of thousands of manufacturing jobs. That's what the head of the AWU in Victoria said. So members of the Leader of the Opposition's own front bench, members of the Leader of the Opposition's own union have warned him about Labor's energy policy. But somehow the Leader of the Opposition thinks that if you don't know where you're going, any road will get you there, Mr Speaker. And that road of your energy policy is less jobs, is higher prices and is less electricity stability. In other words, Labor's energy policy is a road to ruin.